but also we realized we wanted to get to know who were the people who created this exercise, why did they do it personally, and what's at stake for us as a country. They had really powerful stories to tell us.
Hi, Jana. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Hi, Jess. Nice to see you again. We
Jana,
talk
yeah,
for Girl State, Boy State.
definitely.
A
Yeah, good to
huge
see
fan of yours.
you.
Documentaries always.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time and oh my God, I was amazed with everything that you guys accomplished with this documentary, and I was really, really impressed. Like the no cast people, the the editing, the pace of the documentary, even though I'm not originally from here.
Mhm.
I vote here, of course, but it's amazing. And another congratulations.
Thank you.
So I want to know, like, how was it for you, like Tony, to be part of this documentary? How this idea came about? Can you explain a little bit for us?
Sure. Jesse was contacted by some colleagues who had heard about this tabletop exercise, otherwise known as a war game, that was taking place. And the organizers of the war game were trying to figure out how to create video roll-ins, as an element of this training exercise. And they contacted some folks in the film industry, and those folks in the industry thought, this sounds like it might be a really interesting feature documentary. So these folks reached out to Jesse, and Jesse in turn reached out to me. Jesse and I had made a movie some years ago called Full Battle Rattle. That was another war game exercise in the Mojave Desert. And so this felt to us like, I wouldn't call it a sequel, but a companion piece. And so we were very, very excited to partner on this.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about like numbers, because you guys have, I think, 40 people. I think I noticed that a lot of like cinematographers and I think you have people outside, like let's say 2 or 3, 4 locations. Can you talk a little bit like the challenges to have this crew and the like different styles of filming and
Yeah,
everything, Jesse?
this was unlike any film I've ever made, in that we had to capture the action in just 6 hours. And in order to do that, we had to build an enormous team of camera operators. And actually, the crew was about 80 people. And
Wow.
I've made films by myself, but that we had really an army of collaborators and artists to help us capture everything that was going on in the White House Situation Room with the president and his advisors, and then these other spaces that you see in the game where there was simultaneous action. And we knew, like, I mean, it's true in cinema verite, unscripted filmmaking, you only have one chance to grab that lightning and put it in a bottle. And so we also didn't know what the war game would feel like or what it would look like. But the moment it started, it was thrilling. And I think we knew the audience was in for a wild ride.
Really, really cool. Like I also love it, like that you guys recreation the White House, the Situation Room. How was like that process? Like, was the challenge, it was like for you dress, I think it was a hotel over there that you guys dress as a White House, Tony?
It was a hotel ballroom with the ugliest carpet I've ever seen in my life. So we brought in a fabulous team of production designers who primarily work in the theater because, our thinking about this was that it is a theatrical space, right? It's a performance space. There's no script. We don't know what's going to happen. But through smart design, we can create a space that enhances drama and also makes it more inherently cinematic. So, Dr. Strangelove was a kind of reference for us visually. And we talked with our team and with Brett Banakis, a fabulous production designer, about that. But we also thought, these are non-actors. We don't want them to be thinking about the cameras. We don't want them to be thinking about this film we're trying to make. We want them drilling down into this terrifying reality of these 6 hours and this ticking clock, right? And so to that end, you know, we were so focused on detail. We had coasters on the table that said White House Situation Room. You know, you never see those in the film, but they're there for the role players. And we had no idea if these folks were going to buy in, or if they were going to be looking at the cameras, or they were going to be a little self-conscious. I got to tell you, from the minute we started rolling, the minute that clock started counting down, they were in it. And it was chilling, as Jesse said. It was really remarkable to see.
That's why it's so good. And also the editing. I bet you guys have like 6 hours of this situation room plus the outside locations and everything else. How was like this process, like the editing? Because it's so fascinating the way that you did. How is this process, Jess?
Well, we had to start by condensing the action. I mean, as fascinating as the 6 hours were, we knew that we were making a feature film, and as we distilled it, it became more tense and more dramatic, which was great. But also, we realized we wanted to get to know who were the people who created this exercise, why did they do it personally, and what's at stake for us as a country. They had really powerful stories to tell us. They're really incredible and inspiring people. There are many of them former veterans of the U.S. military, people like Janessa Goldbeck and others, Colonel Alexander Vindman, whose name you probably know. And they brought, not just their experience, but in some cases their trauma to a commitment to stress test our democracy. And I think that finding a way and a rhythm and a structure within the story to cut away to them, actually, we were concerned initially would take away from the dramatic action that we were capturing, but actually, I think elevates it for the audience. They understand politically why this is happening and who are these people who are involved. So that getting all that right, as you know from our other conversations, is always a matter of trial and error. It took a year to edit the film. We had a wonderful collaborator, Jeff Gilbert, who cut Boys State. And so we just had to figure it out.
Amazing. I love the pace of everything. And now it's like kind of, I think everybody's asking this question for you. Are you guys worried about this next election? How's your feeling, Tony?
I'm worrying less this week than I did last week. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
I mean, you know, and the remarkable thing with this film is that it changes almost every time we screen it. But of course, not a single frame of the film changes, but the world changes. And as the world changes, our perception of this film changes, and it's remarkable. And the film has stayed in conversation with current events from January on, and it's extraordinary that it does that. When we made this film, Trump was not the candidate, was not the Republican candidate. We all assumed it was going to be DeSantis, you know, and we had no idea, but with every passing week in this crazy political calendar, something surreal and surprising and you know, unprecedented has happened, but the film has stayed in conversation, you know, and I think it's largely, you know, it's, as Jesse pointed out, leaning into the backstory of the game planners and understanding their trauma as a way for anybody of any political stripe to enter this film, to find commonality through empathy. The film really leads with empathy, you know, but that said, it's also a docu-thriller. So it works in very interesting ways in our audience. And, you know, I've spoken to people weeks and months after they've seen it, and it still sits somehow in their chest as this experience, this singular experience they had that they're still processing. So I like to call the film a provocation for a conversation. So it's in many ways, yes, the experience of the film is singular and important, but it's the conversations that come out of it that are in many ways why we made the film.
And then I think every day becomes more relevant, what you guys did there. It's incredible because you guys have the premiere in Sundance, and then they have also the premiere here in the Hammer Museum, and then all these and every day I think I cannot wait for everybody to be able to watch it because it's be so relevant. And for you, Jesse, how much social media is going to affect this time around?
Absolutely. It was a big part of the game that gets played out. The insurrectionist force in our film is extremely skilled at using those tools to destabilize the president and his advisors, and the propaganda, the misinformation. These are all things we're seeing right now in our conversation nationally. And I think that you see the White House is outmatched and outgunned, and we know that that's a challenge. And we're seeing, AI generated content that's confusing people, and we're trying to be responsive. And so there are many threats coming at our republic in this moment. That's just one of them. And I think it's our responsibility as citizens committed to our democracy to look at these challenges, to look at these threats, to not be scared. But also, I think, as Tony said, I think there's hope in the film and inspiration in the coming together of people with different politics who share a common purpose. We don't see much of that, do we, these days? And I think you see people from 5 different presidential administrations, Republicans and Democrats, around that table. The audience gets to sit there with them too, and watch a president make a very difficult decision. And we don't usually get to see the president wrestle with the decision. We get to hear the decision when it's made, but this is a chance to watch former governor of Montana, who ran for president, playing the president, try to prevent a civil war in our country. So it's pretty exciting.
Very excited. So I'm gonna use my social media for the good, to just to tell people to watch War Game. And I just want to thank you so much for your time, Tony, Jesse. Nice to see you again, and a lot of success always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jana. Good to see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you like to support or continue to support Jana on Camera, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share the videos.